The design objective of DKO was to distill the experience of a fighting game down to an easy-to-pick-up card game format. To that end, we built the game around Yomi, the notion in Japanese fighting game circles of reading your opponent's mind. The game is designed around a rock-paper-scissors dynamic with energy investment that correlates with the power of a move. I think where the game really shines is that it has a very clear, simple set of rules, and that every character in the game breaks those rules in exactly one very simple way. My favorite thing about the game is the fact that you have to high-five your partner in order to tag them in. I think that lends just a small amount of joy into the interactions that I think is really positive for players. Plasticity was the first game I ever did user research for, and I had the good fortune to participate in a university record 93 playtests. Every weekend, me and the other two guys on the usability team would hole up in USC's wonderful playtest space and just watch people play Plasticity for 6 hours a day. We had a very robust post-playtest survey and interview process we used to get soft data about how players felt about the game's narrative message, as well as identify points of friction in their play experience. The lesson that I took away from Plasticity was just that. It was my job to minimize friction between the designer and the player. This had mechanical implications like modifying the speed of a rotating water wheel to narrative ones, like effectively communicating the main character's gender, or what is safe and ethical to do when interacting with a sea lion. Ballamander, and maybe this trailer in particular, are my favorite things I've ever made. There are certainly a lot of ways that they could be improved, but of everything I've ever done, Ballamander never fails to make me smile. This was a project of constraints. USC's intermediate game development class is structured in such a way that if you're going to be successful, your game has to focus on one specific mechanical or technical goal. For us, that was the Salamander Sticky Tongue. We spent basically all of our time making that system work and figuring out how to teach it effectively to our players. I also did the art and level design, which was totally new territory for me, but it was exciting to learn how to use the Unity animator. Overall, I think Ballamander shines because it's a competitive game that absolutely refuses to let you take it seriously. I was brought onto Serpent Showdown because I had two things the team was missing: experience doing user research and fighting game expertise. The game's biggest problem was twofold. One, players were having difficulty with inputs, and two, the game wasn't balanced. I developed a metrics gathering system to solve both problems. I tracked every input players made along with their ratio of hits to misses. Combined with video footage of the playtest, this allowed me to understand what players wanted to do and why they were unable to do it. I used this information to work with our design team to make the parry system easier to use and more convenient to apply in game, as it was often a bad risk-reward situation for the player. My favorite little thing about this game is that in our post-playtest survey, we crowdsourced names for the snakes. My favorite is Juice. My primary responsibility on Marvel Strike Force was offer design and implementation. I had the really great opportunity to redesign currency fountains with the econ team, which I loved doing and I learned so much. But my day-to-day essentially revolved around microtransactions. Being in that space taught me what live games need in order to be successful and how to keep being successful. In particular, I learned the value of player trust. When you ask a player to spend real money in a free game, you promise them digital value equivalent to real money. That's a hard sell. My seniors on the live ops team prided themselves on giving players more than what they paid for, and I saw that as the reason that we had been able to build such a solid foundation of player trust. It's a lesson I'll carry on for my whole career because it's not just a financial position, but an ethical one. And frankly, I think if you're going to run a business, it should be an ethical business.